for our regional group. And as Molly said, we have a Loma Prieta chapter that covers 3 counties. So it's broken into some smaller regional groups. And so we have a regional conservation committee that, we set our own priorities. But we're just one of many committees that participates in the chapter's conservation committee. And the chapter has other issue committees, people covering water issues and, baylands and forestry. And we'll kind of work with them. But we also have our own priorities here and set our own programs, but we coordinate with the chapter and the chapter's conservation committee. And our chapter's conservation committee chair is Mike Ferrer. Okay, so we have our own priorities, and you can see our top priority is to protect Coyote Valley. For a lot of reasons, it's a beautiful place. What I've got here is a map of Santa Clara County from the Open Space Authority, Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority, Open Space District. And they created this map using a lot of science of overlaying issues or conservation values of things like wildlife habitat, water resources, recreational opportunities, and it corresponds closely to our priorities. And you can see, so the darker the brown, the higher total conservation value has. And you can see down here, so this is San Jose up here, the urban area in white. And San Jose's sphere of influence comes all the way down here to Morgan Hill. You can see the darkest brown here. This is around Coyote Valley and the hills around there. So that's a priority for us, and we have some other issues going on. The reason why we want to preserve Coyote Valley, of course, it's a beautiful place. That's reason enough for me, but it also is important for our water, the watershed there, and it's got a very high water table. So if it gets polluted, it goes right into the aquifer. That most of it flows north into Santa Clara Valley. So it would be going right into our drinking water. So that's one of the many reasons why we want to preserve it. Let's see what we got. Okay, so but it's currently not really protected. It's broken into 3 different pieces. The north area that is currently designated for industrial development. The mid area, which is reserved until 2040, at which time they expect that it could be developed with residential and retail. And the southern part, where there's already lots of ranchettes and greenhouses and things, is considered the greenbelt separator between San Jose and Morgan Hill. Okay, so there are proposals to develop that are coming in, and one of them recently was a warehouse distribution center, and we put a lot of pressure on the planning staff and the council member for this district, Sergio Jimenez, in District 2. That, not to give them the permits. The land is still, their legal rights is still in agriculture. Okay, so we have that going for us. But the long-term vision has this, it's going to be built out. So there's a little bit of a conflict there. So at any rate, but it's still zoned agriculture, and we got the Sergio Jimenez to come out and say he wouldn't support this plan. And then Peninsula Open Space Trust stepped in and purchased the property and is going to let the Open Space Authority manage it. We're also contributing to a longer or an awareness campaign about Coyote Valley.
So which part of the valley was that?
Just south of the Calpine or the energy plant, Metcalf Energy Center.
So, but isn't that zoned industrial or whatever? That's in
the
northern part.
Yeah, so that's a difference. It is designated for industrial in the general plan, but that is different. That's kind of like a long-term expectation, but the actual legal rights, it's zoned agriculture still. Okay, and so there is a conflict there, right? And so we're trying to say, instead of changing that zoning to be industrial, let's change the general plan. Okay, so for the time being, though, we're having to fight these little fights. But our long-term goal is to change the general plan that we have, understand that it has value in conservation and agriculture. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So in this, we're participating with other environmental organizations in this campaign to create awareness and to put pressure for protecting Coyote Valley. And this is the logo. And I think John has some magnets that you can put on the.
We're encouraging everybody who wants one to take one and stick it on your car.
So we're doing this kind of stuff. We're on social media, and there's a website. If you go out to the website, you can sign up to be notified, as things happen in Coyote Valley. There's not a lot of email about it, but at some point we're going to try to really convince the city council to change the general plan for it. And just by the way, I took this photograph from Coyote Ridge up above Coyote Valley, which is in serpentine soils and has spectacular wildflower displays in the spring. So this was last spring, looking out at Coyote Valley. And up at the top there, you can just kind of see the valley itself up on the ridge. But it's surrounded by beauty, and so it adds to its value. And one reason why we want to protect Coyote Valley is it still provides some wildlife corridors between the Diablo Range and the Santa Cruz Range. So the Diablo Range is over here to the right on this map, and to the west, as north and south of the Santa Cruz Mountains. And some of the neighbors were concerned that they were going to have a development over their neighborhood that they didn't like. And I looked at it and realized that it was right in the middle. I kind of poked around and realized it's right in the middle of where a lot of the wildlife movement are. So, something like the mountain lions, they need a lot of territory. You've got big wildlife habitats of Santa Cruz Mountains and the Diablo Range. But if we separate these areas, they have, they end up inbreeding and becoming weaker. So we want to protect these wildlife corridors. So this is just one of the projects that we're involved with, trying to get this property preserved. So Santa Teresa Boulevard. Let me go back. Let's see. So this is Santa Teresa Boulevard. Okay, and the wildlife can't cross it very easily, and in fact it's fenced to try to keep them from becoming roadkill, causing accidents. But there's a culvert right there, and so they go through the culvert. And the blue line here, so this is, you see Coyote Creek is a significant waterway, and then Fisher Creek is a smaller one, but it's a stream. And this blue line up there is called the Coyote Alameda's Canal. It's really kind of a drainage ditch. But I went poking around, and sure enough, there are wildlife tracks. And they were using that culvert to get from east to west and west to east. So this photograph's taken just above the culvert on from Santa Teresa Boulevard. And you can see there's great big bucks with antlers going through this culvert, and they're just going right along the canal. And so we got a camera put up on this canal, and sure enough, there are animals making those tracks and scat and stuff. So we captured some animals. This is the bobcat down at the bottom, the coyote, and a little fawn. Okay, so something else that could potentially impact Coyote Valley, but really could impact all of San Jose, is a ballot measure on this June's ballot in San Jose. What happened is, there's a large property, 200 acres in Evergreen, that blue square, or that blue shape up there.
City residents?
What's that?
Is this a vote for city residents?
Yes.
I live in a pocket of the county surrounded by the city. Do
Oh.
I vote on that or not?
No, I don't think so if you're still in the county. I
Yeah,
understand.
but I'm surrounded by the city.
Yeah, well, you're impacted, but
Yeah.
you don't get a vote. So, this developer, Carl Berg, who Wikipedia says is worth $1.3 billion, wasn't happy with the city turning down his request to build homes. Basically, he wants, on these 200 acres, he wants to build 900 single-family, $1 million homes in a gated community. But it's designated for industrial uses, or, like campuses, business parks is what they expect to go in there. But he didn't want to deal with that, so he's putting this, he hired people to collect signatures, and it's called, senior homes. Okay, so he is, so you'll have to be 55 to buy a home there. But he's exempting himself from traffic impact fees, and there's all these rules that the city has that he's exempting himself from, including some aspects of what we call CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, where you basically are responsible for public review and to inform the council members. Well, at any rate, okay, so he doesn't want to deal with any of that. So he puts an initiative on. And so in addition to that property in Evergreen, the initiative, which is 367 pages long, says there will be a senior homes overlay on all underutilized employment lands. So that could be all throughout the city here. Here and there, whatever he can say is, or any developer can say, hey, this is an underutilized employment land, I want to build homes. Okay, and so that certainly would count North Coyote, or North Coyote Valley. So we see that again as a threat to Coyote Valley, a threat to transportation, and is, dumping a lot of responsibilities onto the general public for, a gated community of $1 million homes, from a billionaire. So we're trying to get the word out that this isn't a good idea. So this again, we're looking out to Coyote Valley. This is North Coyote. So it's just, that blue square that we saw down here. Historically, this was a wetland, and it was wet last year. It's called Laguna Seca. And this is Santa Teresa. That culvert I was talking about is just over here. So this is, anyway, this is something that would be threatened. Let's see if I got everything covered there. You can see that this is a threat to the planning that we expect, in San Jose. So another priority for us is to protect agriculture in South County, where there still is some agriculture. Most of Santa Clara Valley has already been developed, and development continues to happen in the agricultural lands, but there's still a fair bit in South County. So the gray up in the north, that's San Jose, and in the middle, that's Morgan Hill. This is Gilroy, and this piece up there is Coyote Valley. Something that's interesting here is Morgan Hill. That yellow there was the subject of an annexation request by Morgan Hill about a year ago, where they wanted to develop those ag lands. So we fought them over it, and they lost. Morgan Hill was denied the opportunity to annex that land, but it's something that it became aware, or created awareness that the county really isn't doing a very good job of protecting the agricultural lands. And it's kind of interesting, there's a couple of reasons for it. And in digging deeper, the county realized that more than half of the problem is that it's not with the cities sprawling into it, although that's been a big problem, but just that they're not protecting the smaller parcels, that people are building, wealthy people, some of the smallest parcels, currently you can only subdivide down to 20 acres, but there's some older ones that are 10 acres, and some of those size parcels, people are building, mansions on. And they're not really using for agriculture. Maybe they'll have a vineyard in their backyard or something, but it's not really being used. We have people trying to get in. Sean, can you let her in, please? So anyway, so the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority and the county got some money through the state cap and trade funds that because agriculture uses less land than, produces less carbon dioxide than sprawl does, right? So they got some money to create a plan to try to protect the agriculture. And in fact, they've also got a grant or some money from the High-Speed Rail Authority as mitigation for High-Speed Rail Authority. They got $3.5 million, and then they've purchased 70 acres in this southeast quadrant of Morgan Hill that we were fighting over last year. But so now we need to, it's a priority for us to make this new agricultural plan work and really protect agriculture in South County. So what this agricultural plan does is is proposing some changes to the land use policy. So it would limit the size of the houses on the agricultural land, so they don't just become large estates, that they really are used for agriculture. And things like restricting the activities on adjacent lands that are incompatible with the farmland. Because one thing that can happen is residents are allowed to build right up to the ag land, and then they're not happy when the farmer sprays the crops or something. So there's the idea of, well, maybe we should be watching that more closely. There's also efforts to purchase more conservation easements, requiring, with development, require mitigation monies to purchase conservation easements over the farmland, so you can buy the development rights without actually buying the property. So then people can continue to use it as farmland, and the owner of the property feels like, well, they got some money out of it, basically. And there's other things that they want to do, help streamline some of the regulations, have a branding and awareness campaign about the fact that we have this local agriculture, and try to make the connections into, local San Jose, hospitals and schools, and get local produce in there. And so the Board of Supervisors just adopted this yesterday, and they created a task force to kind of refine the plan. And it will be composed of people appointed by Supervisors Wasserman and Cortese, who both have agricultural background, and most of this farmland is in Wasserman's district. It is a little concerning to us because Wasserman was one of the supervisors, he was on this board that made the decision about Morgan Hill's annexation request, and he voted to let him annex it. So, we need to get, somebody on this task force that shares our perspective. So, and then we pick up whatever, interests people have. And, if you're concerned about some sort of conservation issue, environmental issue going on, let us know. Maybe we'll pick it up. We had some people concerned about the Sanborn County master plan work that's being done. And so one example is in this master plan, they proposed some active use right at the top of the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we think it's only appropriate to have passive things, maybe a few trails or whatever. And you can see this picture is of this site. One reason why they picked it is in this picture on the right-hand side was an old Christmas tree lot, and they figured they could just basically cut down the Christmas tree lot. But it was planted with native species and has grown up quite a bit, and the other diversity is moving into it. And on the left is, the Santa Cruz Mountains. And from my perspective, the Santa Cruz Mountains is already under threat from, there's a lot of properties have homes up there, and people are removing the forest and putting up vineyards and things. And so the public lands, we think, should be treated with respect and, preserved for habitat. Maybe some passive uses. So this was what the Silicon Valley mountain bikers proposed for that property. And, I'm all for something like this, but not here. Where it's the native habitat. It's also subject to sudden oak death, and so the tires, are going to spread it wherever they go. But you can see all these little lines here. That's all trails. They expect to pretty much cut down all of the forest there, and I just don't think it's appropriate. And the folks that we talk to. The other environmental organizations also feel that this is not an appropriate use. So we get involved, we make recommendations, we study the issues. I had biologists come up and verify that I knew what I was talking about with the native tree species and stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. Yeah.
Why is it important to save agriculture?
Because, we need food. It's something that I forgot to mention about the agriculture. So, if you're concerned about carbon dioxide, there is typically some carbon dioxide produced in agriculture, but less than urban sprawl. And in fact, one way we can help deal with our carbon dioxide problem is through certain agricultural processes can actually sequester carbon. And so there's a lot of research going on right now into these agricultural practices, and they call it carbon farming, but it's just doing practices of no-till or composting that actually sequesters carbon. And in fact, there's also a lot of study going on right now developing plant strains that sequester a lot of carbon in their root systems. And so it's an opportunity to actually sequester carbon, and hopefully we could get practices across the globe that are sequestering carbon rather than producing carbon. But we need food. It typically is, if it's done well, it can protect wildlife and the water resources.
One thing to add would be, it's also local. And if you're eating locally grown food, that means it's not going over the freeway for God knows how many miles in the back of a big diesel spewing truck. So it's a lot better for the environment. It does a lot of things to reduce climate change to the extent that not only that, it's a lot fresher.
Right, and that is part of the effort in the new county's agricultural plan is to make better use of the fact that it is an advantage to have, and it's an advantage for the farmers to have Silicon Valley right there as a market. and, you know, to reduce the cost and shipping and stuff. Whoop. What happened? Oh, I moved. I moved. But all I had was a picture of,
I'll get it, don't do
oh,
anything.
okay. We're doing lots of other things. The last thing I wanted to mention was the fact that last year we helped organize the Women's March with the Women's March San Jose folks, and we came out and rallied. This was actually from the March for Science, but we did. I couldn't find the pictures from the Women's March other than this one that I took. We had a great turnout last year. It was a lot of fun. We had I've read 35,000 people in San Jose. I would expect it to be at least as big a crowd this year. So it's a lot of fun. So it's coming.
On Saturday?
Yeah, on the 20th.
A week from Saturday?
A week from Saturday, and I think Molly's going to help us organize, who introduce things. So if you're interested in rallying with us, you know, let us know, and we'll make sure you get the word about that. Yes, Asha.
The biggest threat here is that initiative, because it's going to be a proposition.
Yes.
All these task forces, you can have discussions and turn them over if you get the supervisor on your side. So, this is the first I'm hearing about it. Isn't
Yeah.
that a huge threat?
Yes. Well,
I mean, that's like Prop 13 or something.
you're right, it is, for the city of San Jose. It would completely turn us into Houston if
Yeah.
this thing passes. It would be devastating, I
So
think.
what are we doing in
Okay,
that?
well, we
Who will fight a billionaire? I mean, where's
Yeah,
the
well,
money?
that's, okay. I am. I'm part of their campaign to oppose it. So it was just certified today, I think, or maybe yesterday, to be on the ballot. Okay, so they had to count the signatures, okay? So it's still early, but we're working to get everybody lined up. We've got all the city council people against it. We had a resolution passed last week. I think it was last week. The Santa Clara County Democratic Party opposes it. The League of Women Voters is looking at it. Basically, we're trying to start with getting all of the important groups lined up so that we can, you know, have a ballot statement that says, League of Women, all these important groups, we all oppose this thing. The mayor's strongly against it, but you're right, it's going to have to be grassroots, dropping flyers versus the billionaire is going to be just flooding your mailboxes with this stuff.
And the television. But some of that land, is it all in the city that you were talking about? It looked like some of it was county land.
No, the city's sphere of influence. I did it again. Let's see. Charles, can you get me the...
It's like number 6.
Here comes Garrett.
What do you want?
Back up to 6.
Yeah, back up to the land use map, the general plan map when I was talking about...
This one?
The one before that, or two before that. Now, go back more.
Someplace.
Okay, this one right here, number 8.
So the Evergreen is in the city. But
Okay, so basically,
that's not
what you're seeing here, the city of San Jose's, this isn't built out yet, but
That's San
then
Jose.
their sphere of influence goes all the way down to Morgan Hill. So it's really city lands. This is all, the county, has a little finger in here with the Santa Teresa Ridge. And the light green is county. But all the rest of this is all the
So
city.
the blue is in the
The
city.
blue is the city. This already developed stuff, looks like this. The color coding
Is there a way
indicates,
to oppose it through the county also?
I don't believe so. Of course, it'll be in the courts for years probably. But the initiatives do have, they can override a lot of the usual laws that we set forth. And so it would be big problems. Okay, well, that's what I got. If you've got any issues that you're concerned about, let us know and we'll look into them. Thank you. John Cordes chairs the political committee and he's going to tell us.